because this was a very special case. After last now.
Sairam. Hope everyone can hear me.
Sairam, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Sairam, let's start the study circle with 3 ohms. Om. Om. A prayer. Dear Swami, we are so grateful to be able to meet here together in your presence today. While we are here together studying your word in your Bhagavat Vahini, we ask that you open our ears and hearts to whatever it is you want us to learn. Please speak through each one of us and help us progress in our spiritual journey. Jai Sai Ram. Sai Ram, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I just wanted to remind everyone that this is a 1 hour online session. We just want to be respectful and ask relevant questions. Let's speak from the heart and listen with humility. All right. We had a great discussion on Saturday, and we started the discussion with purpose of life with an example of the game of snakes and ladders board that we heard. The challenges in that game being Maya and the ladder being the grace, and then but we know that life is not completely like that game, and we did discuss about that as well, where things are not completely random. Every moment that we have here is a choice that we can make to grow towards our goal. And then we just discuss about the knowledge that that we are divine, and why that is important. We had actually listened to a video before that where we talked about knowing is being, and that was the knowledge discussion was based off of that discourse from Swami Sarvapriyananda. And then we basically ended our discussion talking about how living in the present is important, how controlling the mind is the most important task and most challenging, and the purpose of life keeps growing as we keep experiencing life in itself, and keep learning. So I know I have paraphrased many things. If there is anything anyone would like to add, this would be a great time. Okay, Sairam. So moving along, I just thought today we can talk about one of Swami's quotes, and this actually came about this week, I believe, on one of the thought for the day quotes that I always put up, and I thought it was very interesting that Swami even posed the same question that we had been talking about. So I just thought we can start our discussion today with that, and I'm going to read this now. What is the mistake we all make in our pursuit of bliss or ananda? Bhagavan lovingly and clearly explains the truth to us. There are two categories of ananda in the world: sadhana janya ananda, acquired bliss, and swatha siddha ananda, self-generating bliss. Acquired bliss is associated with sensory objects. It arises and vanishes from time to time. It does not endure. For instance, when hunger is appeased, there is happiness for the moment, but it ceases after a time. This applies to all objects in the world. This type of joy has been described as acquired or derived happiness, as it is got and lost by human effort. It is not true bliss. Man, however, seeks lasting ananda. He is, in fact, filled with ananda and is the embodiment of ananda. Ananda constitutes his very nature and being. Why then does he not experience it? This is because, unaware of his true nature, he is obsessed with the external world and fails to experience the bliss within. He imagines that the source of joy lies in the phenomenal world. But as in the case of butter that is present in every drop of milk, but which can only be seen after the milk is curdled and the buttermilk is churned, this inner bliss can be experienced only after the right effort is made. The mind is filled with various kinds of joy. It is only when the appropriate inquiry is made and one's true nature is ascertained that the divine Satchit Ananda inherent in one will be manifested. And Swami ends, the quote ends with, "Man is not of the nature of the body he occupies. He is the Atma. And happiness is the nature of the Atma," says Swami. So again, this is from the Divine Discourse on Feb 12th. And I think this just came about sometime this week. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. And I thought this would be a great way to discuss this, because we were talking about the nature of the self, and how and the challenges, and why we need to understand what the nature is. And in this, Swami is talking about the pursuit of that ananda, pursuit of joy, pursuit of bliss that we all have. So with that, I have a few questions. Of course, the discussion is never limited to these questions. But if true bliss is our true nature, why do we continue to depend on temporary joys from the external world? And how often do we ask ourselves that question? I think that is a more important.
Sai Ram.
Yes, Sai Ram Shankaranji.
So, actually what's happening, even in pursuit of external objects,
Mm-hmm.
We actually invoke this true bliss or ananda from within for a very temporary period. So, just like we know that milk has got butter, when we take it, sometimes we do taste that little butter, but then we don't realize that it is, the real part of it. Likewise, when we experience a joy from the external object for a moment, that time actually we are reaching into the inner bliss and we feel happy. But then we think it is coming from the external object, and then we drop back into our usual self. So I think the ananda is constantly living in that bliss that is coming from within. I think that's what I understand.
Why do we continue to depend on these temporary joys then?
Because we are attaching it to the external objects. Even though the joy is coming from within us, it's not the object that is bringing it. It is actually the joy that is coming from within us, but we think it is coming from that object.
Great point. Thank you, Shankaranji. Anyone else? In that case, is our inquiry wrong? Because we obviously are, what kind of effort? So because you said that, it's coming from, we think that it's coming from external objects, but then maybe we are asking the wrong question. And what do we think is the right effort then, or right inquiry, I guess, to uncover this?
Well, I mean, when you are dependent on outside object, you are going to go through a happiness and unhappiness, satisfaction and dissatisfaction. And if we really believe that all that is happening to this mind-body system, we are going to constantly go through this ride. And on the other hand, we say that everything is for the good, then only we will be able to invoke this true bliss. But it is very, very hard, in real life. So that is what, all this sadhana is about. That, how to maintain that, equanimity at times of, equanimity is very easy to talk about when everything is going our way. But what if it's not going our way? How do we maintain that? And that is where we fall into this gap. So if everything was a continuous series of, joyful events, we probably will be living in that ananda. But then suddenly you realize, you know, continuously nice weather is also not good. I want to see something the opposite. So,
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, even if everything goes our way, sometimes we are not happy.
yeah, so that is the nature of our mind.
Yeah.
So, how to maintain that equanimity. So we need to get all those, bad effects too. But at that time also, we have to invoke this equanimity. That is how that inner bliss can be, accessed. And easily said, you know, I'm just sharing, what is the right thing. That doesn't mean that I'm following it.
Yeah, at least I don't think any one of us is following it to the T, but at least we are there. Yes, please, Venkatji, Saira.
Sairam. Yeah, as Shankaran said, I think the any joy, whether it is say whether it is deep within, and that's what we tap in when we get this temporary happiness that is arising from external world. Whatever it is, that is definitely temporary, and that is definitely going to lead to sorrow, because it's just like a wave. When you get joy, obviously you're going to end up in sorrow. So the permanent joy is only, I don't know if we can call it, I think it's bliss. When you have a permanent bliss, that is when we have the equanimity. So, which I mean, I'm just echoing what Shankaran said. So, why is it that your question was, why is it that we are after this temporary or acquired bliss versus self-generating bliss?
Right.
That's because we have not experienced this self-generating bliss. I don't think we have experienced it. It is. See, I was just looking at. See, we were discussing last session about swimming, and so we have to first, or any subject you take, first we have to listen to the experts in that field, right? First, we have to understand and accept what they are saying. Then you go and investigate yourself and learn. And so when Swami or Sarvapriyanandaji or any experienced person talks about this self-generating bliss or Sachitananda, we have to do that, and we may not experience it initially, but I think we have to do it. And why we are not doing it is because this is the easy way out. I think acquired bliss is easy way out. We just see that happiness or bliss coming our way easily when we attach it to the external objects. I think that sadhana is difficult, and we are not.
Sadhana is difficult. Yes. Yeah. And it's I think the problem always arises is because we look for instant gratification, and that does not happen. In this world, I think we are all happy when we get an instant praise. When I say instant, even if it is not instant, we know that if we do our work, our jobs right, we will get a bonus at the end of the day, or end of the year, or end of whatever it is. I think that kind of incentive is very, it's so subtle that I think we are not prepared to look at it from that point of view. At least that's how I think.
Actually,
yes.
Sairam, can I?
Yeah, please go ahead. Manojji was going to say
One of the
something, but please
Upanishads
finish your
actually
thought.
defines Ananda. I
Ah,
remember it is actually Ananda is one thing that has been quantitatively described. And what it says is, I don't remember all of it, but, it says something like, imagine a person, a young man with very good health, and, he's right about, 30 years or something, he's not a little boy. At the same time, he's not an old man. So he's right there. He has got, the best of bodies. He has no health concerns. He's most learned, and everything that you want to learn, everything has been already learned. He has got all the money that he wants. He has no, issues with relationships, nothing like that. And, it keeps talking like this, work goes on and on and on like that. And if you take all that and multiply it by a million times, that is the true bliss. It actually, in the Upanishads, in one of the talks from Sarvapriyananda, he actually describes how it goes. And not only him, even in Dayanandaji, in one of his talks, he also describes the same kind of phenomenon. So it is really a huge, what we experience through sensory objects is just on the surface, but it is still part of that bliss. But we think, oh, that if that itself gives you that much of satisfaction for a temporary period, we can imagine what the true bliss will be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Manojji.
what I wanted to express. What
Mm.
Venkat mentioned, I would like to say the same thing little differently. He mentioned that we have not experienced it.
Mm.
I want to say is that we experience it all the time. Whatever Swami has mentioned as sadhanjanya ananda, it appears to be sadhanjanya, but it is actually our own bliss. So we are experiencing it every day, and every time we get pleasure from sensory objects, it is our misconception only, which is blinding us. It is our misconception which is blinding us that the pleasure is coming from there. Whatever we are experiencing, that bliss is actually the Swatah Siddh Anand only. Just because our antahakaran becomes focused at that time when we are enjoying these sensory pleasures, it is the focus of our antahakaran in which that reflection comes in, and that reflection itself is that our own ananda, the Swatah Siddh Ananda, our own self-generating bliss. That is the reflection of the same bliss. Suppose we are having a good food, very tasty food, we're enjoying it. The moment a news comes that someone has died, where does that ananda goes? Because
Mm.
our mind gets disturbed and the focus goes away. The ananda was coming in from inside. It is no more in the food, which we presumed to be was in the food, which was never in the food, which was only in our focus. When the moment our focus goes away, that enjoyment goes away. Be it a taste, be it a smell, be it a touch, any of the sensory organs. So the Swatah Siddh Ananda is always with us. We just misinterpreted it to be coming from outside. Number one. So how do we get to know that? By listening to gurus. No one has taught us all these things. Now we have learned it. Now we have learned this subject. Now we understand that this Ananda is not from outside. The other example is
Mhm.
the Sushupti. When all the sensory organs they don't function, they're not functional. What is that bliss? When we wake up, we say, "मैं बहुत आनंद से सोया." I
Mm.
slept the maximum ananda, the bliss. Where does that come from? Have we ever thought on that? That is my Swatah Siddh Ananda only when there are no objects, when there were no sensory organs active. All the sensory things were not there at that time. Still, that Ananda was there when there was no external world. So, that Ananda is always there. We just have misinterpreted and started looking outside because our sensory organs are made outside. We have to just train to look inwards. That's all we have to do. Thank you.
So, okay, because the reason, the difference between this is got to be because one has to be everlasting, right? Swata Siddha Ananda is supposed to be everlasting. It's not something that comes and goes, right? Or am I understanding that?
Yes, it is the training of our mind when we start to perceive it and attribute that Ananda coming from nothing outside. It will persist. It will persist. It's our own training. It's our own by doing, uh, by understanding the subject and start to appreciating it. We'll start to stay in that mode, which will be we will be able to perceive it and appreciate it for a longer period of time, or maybe not say longer period of time, which would be time independent at that stage.
Mm.
Sairam. Ananda, the true Ananda is what? It is like
the absence of all the disturbances, right? Like what we have: desire, attachment,
Mm.
feeling, emotion, thought, etc. Like Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say that in the pond, he called the pukur, that a lot of the algae or other plants are floating on the pond. You don't see the water underneath it, right?
Yeah.
If you move them, and then you can look into the water, you can see crystal clear water.
Mm.
And then once you remove your hand, they come back, dancing back, he says, covers the water.
Right.
See, for us, the ananda, the bliss is inside, like others were saying. It is there. We are not able to access it because we have these layers of all these emotions, feeling, our likes and dislikes, raga, dvesha, everything covering it. So to get through to the clear water, what do? You remove the impurities on top of it. So for us to realize that ananda, the get that, Shankaracharya says, all the water in the desert, that mirage,
Mhm.
it is not enough to wet one grain of the sand. Okay, so it is an illusion. So all the joy, happiness we think we are getting from outside, it is not enough to really compare with the bliss that within us. That is the true nature of us. How do we get to that? We can get to it only if we practice. If we practice to remove that which is covering the true bliss. That is one way of looking at it. And the ananda, you have the next question probably that answers that. Why it is not the temporary, what we experience as joy, it is temporary, right?
Yes.
It is why it is not the same or unchanged. The true bliss is it is a state. It is not even something you get it. Bliss is not something you get it, you achieve, you become that. And that is the one beautiful example Savapriyanandaji says about the inherent, right? That inherent nature of things and borrowed existence.
Right.
All we have is the borrowed happiness, ananda, that we think we have. That never lasts. It will keep on changing. The inherent heat of the fire, he says, that is unchanged. As long as there is a fire, the heat will be there.
Right.
Yeah. And remember that example he gives, the potato, which is very hot because it was in the boiling water.
Yeah.
The potato itself by nature is not hot. The water is not hot. It borrows the heat from the pot. The pot is not hot. It borrows the heat from the fire. Right? So all else will get cold, but the fire doesn't. As long as the fire is there, the heat will be there. Like that, our true bliss is there all the time. But we are borrowing, thinking this is ananda from material things.
So the inquiry you're saying, yes, Jai, please go ahead.
Sarah, I'm trying to analyze this using some kind of example, right?
Okay.
So everybody agrees that ananda is inherent. It's there, and it's constantly there, but we don't realize. So I'm trying to phrase it with an example, see if that works. I mean, maybe it's not perfect, but if we assume that all the emotions like fear, anger, happiness, not joy, bliss is different from happiness, and the other emotions which are maybe sensual, right? Basically you might get that pleasure, whatever the other feelings that we get may be stimulated from external world.
Correct.
Sometimes they may be stimulated with the thoughts also. We might get anger just by thinking also, right? So all these, if we consider them as a different vibrations, like when you go and touch a vibrating object, you feel that vibration. So natural, that unvibrating motion. I mean, you are motionless. Suddenly, you go and touch something which is very vibrating, very
Yep. Mhm.
very high frequency. You feel that. So then naturally your equilibrium is gone because you went and touched it. So all these emotions are different vibrations, sensual vibrations, emotional vibrations, because we are attaching them. We are in deliberately going and touching them. So that's where we are losing the that feeling of being in bliss, because bliss is there, but we are always constantly sticking to the other external vibrations. So that's what we call disturbances, right? What we call, because of these disturbances, we are not able to realize that our inner bliss. I mean, that's analysis wise. I'm trying to figure it out. Is that the right?
Sorry, I mean, I understand your question, but I think it makes sense, but I'm looking for someone else to say something because I'm really just listening in. I understand that everything is temporary at this end, and we are that Satchit Ananda, which I think, um, and and I and that is what I thought when I wrote the last question. Is there anything that remains same or unchanged?
Sairam.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, what remains the same is that permanent bliss that we will experience, that we experience on and off, as was you mentioned. I think we wrongly associate that happiness or bliss with the object, but it is coming from within. So that, if see, the challenge comes when, as Manoj was mentioning, when we are having a good tasty meal that we like, we are enjoying, and then suddenly something negative happens, then immediately that joy is gone. Why? Because our mind is going that, as Umaji said, that pond is now getting covered by that clutter. So in order to have the clear water, the view of the clear water all the time, all we have to do is to remove that clutter. So all the time we have to keep removing it. So in other words, I think we have to keep saying all the time that, is this body related, or is this in my heart, or atma? So we got to keep analyzing all the time, and then anything that is body mind related, just ignore it, or be in a position to say, that's not me. That's not me. I think that's probably a way to at least progress towards being in that state all the time. For example, when Ramana Maharishi, somebody brought a letter accusing him, how he started reading the grammar. I mean, he would have known that it is addressed to him, but he just completely ignored it because he's completely moved out of that. He didn't allow that clutter to come and cover that happiness that he is.
Yeah.
See, what is unchanged? That answer is very easy by now, right? We all know that. What is unchanged? Brahman, the consciousness, that it never changes, right? Even us, like we have talked about it before, that we were young child, youth, middle
Right.
age, right? Throughout, our body changes, everything else change, our perception, our state of living, whatever it is. But the I within us, that youth, child, all this within the body, that feeling of that I never changed. It's not the ego I'm talking about. That awareness which is in us, that doesn't age. That doesn't change.
So that is the same thing with Ananda too. So that
Right.
is the
See, this is another example. Adi Shankara says, when we are walking in the beach, okay, that the spray of the water, a little spray we feel falling on us, we think that is the whole water. That, like that ananda, the happiness, the little spray of it we experience, we think that is the real joy, real happiness, real ananda, but it is not. We forget to see the whole ocean in front of us. Okay, so we get swayed by the life's little pleasures, whatever we call, and sensory attachment, but they are all temporary. When something keeps changing, that is not the real one. That is not the
correct.
yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That kind of awareness we can bring.
And I really think we depend on these temporary joys because it is easy to get in that moment. So it's instant. It is, when I say instant, I don't mean that second, but at least, in this life, you will experience something.
Right.
The this whole effort, the right effort of going in and doing all this inquiry, it's not for everyone. It does not give you that. You have to keep persisting and keep going at it for quite some time, with a single pointed mind. You have to have that. So again, I come back to, yes, if we all agree that we are this bliss that Swami is talking about, Satchitananda, and Sarvapriyananda called it what? It's one thing. Satchit Ananda is not three different things. It's one, and that is Brahman. But my point is that I don't know if we can associate it to understand what it feels like by giving our examples of food or whatever it is, food and good sleep or whatever. But that is not to say that we have even experienced a inkling of that. Yes.
I want to say we do experience the inkling of that bliss
Okay.
in things that we really love to do. For example, I really like, you know, classical music, doesn't matter if it is Carnatic or Hindustani. And when I'm listening to a concert, even though the concert is lasting for a while, I'm, I feel like I'm in bliss because I really love listening to that. Music does that. A musician goes through this for a much longer time, actually. When he's very involved in that song, he forgets the word. He's, totally into that. So what I'm saying is, there are things that we can pursue where we love to do. If you do that, and you can actually, even with the external object, you can create more and more of enjoying, accessing this bliss. So by doing that more and more and more, you actually get to that point. And service is one thing. That's why Swami keeps repeating about service. And when we do that service, and suddenly you feel that there is something that happens there, which it is not really the object, it is not really what you have done or anything, but there is an inherent joy that comes out of it. So all that is, I believe, accessing this. And um, uh, some of the people have followed things like, a ritualistic manner, and,
Yeah.
really doing it with all sincerity. And when, so these are all means by which it can, I'm not saying that everybody has to sit there and do puja, but, you have to find that which, is, helpful to, access that. And whatever that activity is, that's what I believe.
Yeah, Sairam, I think all these are, listening to music, doing everything. Again, these are all coming through the senses. They are temporarily, yes, we enjoy them. I don't know if it automatically leads you to that ultimate bliss. Okay, these are all self-generating bliss or the Swachitananda. But like Somerset Maugham says, if you pursue single-mindedly happiness, you find it nothing pleases you anymore. So if we go after these kind of sensory pleasure, whatever it might be, we can achieve to some kind of the temporary relief from other sensory, pains or whatever it is. Mind calms down and it listens to music or some satsang or whatever, painting, whatever.
Mhm.
Okay, those are all temporary things, right? So that ananda is, we don't need to pursue ananda per se. Oh, I am going to pursue ananda. I'm going to get bliss today, tomorrow, or 10 years down the road. No, it is the state. Okay, the Sri Ramakrishna also says, you want to taste the sugar or you want to become the sugar. We have to become the sugar. We have to become the bliss. We are, right? Sachitananda, our nature itself. So while we do these good activities, quote and unquote, good things, they will keep us safe from doing the other negative things, bad things. And so that way we can be, more aligned with our true nature. That's what I think. So the bliss, finally, it is not something you need to reach a goal or anything. It comes automatically when you go to that level. When you are away from, like I said, all our, sensory things, we are, bound in this body. Our emotions, our raga, dvesha, all our things, vices we have. Once we remove that, then automatically we will reach there eventually at some point.
I agree. Anyone? Yeah, Manojji, please go ahead.
Bhavani mentioned about why we go after these sensory pleasures because probably we want to have instant pleasure. I think that's what you said. The instant pleasure.
Instant gratification. Yeah. So instant gratification meaning that you promptly see, you can evaluate, you feel happy with what you did. If you did service, you feel happy with yourself, all of that. Yeah.
All that will give you some pleasure. I just want to say the same thing again, which I said earlier. Uh, even that is just our lack of understanding, which makes us feel that it is coming from there. We have to just make a U-turn in our own thinking process, that even that instant pleasure, even that gratification, all these are still coming from inside. So we have to just retrain our own mind that which seems to be pleasure, instant pleasure coming from outside, is still my own pleasure. It's my own swarupa of Satchit Ananda, which is getting reflected because that antakaran got stable without any dirt for that moment, and the reflection came right in there and come out, that reflected Ananda. That is the same reflection. That is the kind of, so that is also not wrong. What I want to say is, it seems to come from outside, but even that pleasure is also from inside only. We just have to train our mind and thinking process to realize that that Anand was also my own Ananda, so that tomorrow I don't have to run for that particular thing. We all experience it, but we are misinterpreting it. That's what I repeatedly mention. We are misinterpreting it to come from outside. The moment our chitta get focused, that's what we train by doing meditation. Sushupti is one of the examples. By all the other examples we gave, with meditation also, what we are training our mind is when there is nothing, from outside or nothing from inside. The outside pleasures don't come, and the inside distractions from our mind don't come. And when there is disengagement of body and mind, then that gives us the opportunity to experience that. and which is not different from any other pleasures also we get from outside. It appears to be from outside, but it is the same pleasure and the same bliss. So I just wanted to reinforce that aspect. And because that is my own Swarupa, we all know that. So it's basically Chit Nirodha and Vritti Nirodha. Basically, the moment we Nirodha means stopping. When we stop it and focus on inside, that bliss is there. That bliss is right there.
Thank you. Um, does anyone have anything else? Yeah, please go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. So, I mean, after listening what Manoj has said, it makes sense as the bliss is a reflection. As long as we engage our senses, it looks like it's coming from outside. But where is that? Suppose even the food is taste, but where is that feeling generated? It's something inside only, right? It's not created outside. Though body is consuming food, beautiful, I mean, the tasty food, but the feeling inside is generated within our sense, even though through senses, but there is some kind of inner self that is enjoying that bliss. So what he said is, if you are trying to look for it, then you need to turn that external stimulations, like through sensual, you need to turn them to the inside. Like, even without food, can I be happy? I mean, without tasty food, but your body needs some food. Okay, that's fine. You consume, but it need not to be very tasty. But still, can I be happy with that? If we try in that way, probably it's coming from inside. No matter what kind of food I eat, I will be always happy, right? That's what the nirodha, chitta vritti nirodha means. You're trying to turn inside, and then you are trying to emanate that bliss by training yourself. Okay, the bliss is in me. I'm, no matter what happens outside world or sensual world, I'm happy always. So if that is the training, that's where I think all the yogis go, right? They are not worried about external, because they emanate that bliss outside. The moment they go in some public, all the public will be joyful because they are emanating that bliss. I mean, that's what I feel that what Manoj said makes sense.
I want to give an example, please, just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, please.
So we used to go to Haridwar and used to stay there for several weeks actually, and we used to serve. We used to serve sadhus who used to come, and in mandalis, in huge mandalis, they come and we used to feed them. We used to bring different kind of dishes for, just showing our emotions, our passion towards serving. We used to bring barfi and jalebi and dahi and rice and chawal and so much of variety of foods, like just because we wanted to get their blessings. These sadhus, they used to mix all of it and churn it, and in one plate, in small bowl, they'll put everything together and churn it and make a small ball of it. Everything, dahi also, everything. I asked my other people who were there, what are they doing? We brought jalebi and this and this and this. What are they doing? They are mixing. They said that's what they are doing. So they don't get they want to fill their belly only. They don't want to have the sensory pleasures out of these things. That is sadhana. They used to do all that. And so that we don't get inclined, oh, I need to eat jalebi today. Oh, I need to have golgappe today. They used to do it because they come and they depend on what we are feeding them. They wanted to get the stomach full only, not that their mind gets deviated. Tomorrow, if I get the pleasure from jalebi, tomorrow I would be looking forward to jalebi. Has any devotee brought jalebi for me? Has any devotee brought? So they were in the sadhana track, or maybe at a higher level. They used to do that. So that was an effort. The question was the right effort. The more we train ourselves not to get, I mean, it's not an easy thing for us to do, but I'm just giving examples, to understand it. The effort is to stop, to try to, to try to stop our senses going to all these things. Slowly, we will start to ignore it. It will not affect our chitta. Our mind will not get distracted because of these sensory pleasures.
Very well put. Thank you for the example. Makes sense. Anyone else have anything to add?
See, Swami also says that, right? He used to do the food like coffee.
Yeah.
He used to drink coffee, remember?
Yeah.
And one lady, then Swami was the guest in his house, and she made some coffee. But another lady, she thought she knows how to make the best, and she made the best coffee according to her to give it to Swami. And what he did was he took a bigger container and poured one whole glass of water into it, mixed the best coffee in it, and he drank the whole thing. And he was looking at it. For him, it doesn't matter. The best coffee or the worst coffee are the same thing. See, for us, when we talk about the Ananda bliss, it is within us, okay. But then do we act the same when we go through life's ups and downs the same way, right? Right. Even when we have something sad or something not to our liking, do we have that equanimity to practice? I am bliss, I see joy in it. Or I'm not dragged down because of something negative is happening or things are not going in my way. That kind of the mind, right? Mind plays a big role in all this. We go wherever the mind takes us. Joyful occasion, no problem, we are very happy. And not so joyful, painful, are we saying I am bliss myself, I see some joy in it? No, we get so upset, so upset. Or we go give into ego, right? We get jealous and we all kind of things. We don't appreciate, we are not grateful. So all these things we need to bring it to a balance. That is the sadhana for us. It's so easy to talk about all this, okay, in 1 hour period, whatever we know, we just spit it out. How much of it we take it into heart, how much of it we are putting it, in application, that is more important than what we say.
Agree.
Yeah.
Sairam, so I did mention about music, and so one thing which is close to my heart, which was close to home. Um, my father had lots of worries. He had financial worries and lots of things. And when he grew up, I think he was very interested in music, but of course his father won't let him, go and learn that. So all his knowledge was only through hearing, but he loved music. So and when I was growing up, I used to get very annoyed because my father will go and start pelting out, alapana, I remember it was either Bhairavi or Todi, one of the two ragas. He will just for hours, he will just keep on. So I'm now beginning to realize that that was his way of accessing, the inner bliss, to forget, the, whatever, things is being thrown by the outside world. So that is a practice that I'm thinking, we need to see what will give us access that inner bliss, and in spite of what is happening in the external world. And so that I just thought I'll bring it up.
Yep. Thank you, Shankaran. Okay, I do have one more of Swami's quote. Again, this comes from our thought for the day, and all this time, many times that we have seen this, but I thought these were so pertinent to what we are looking for. So again, coming back to what are the steps that will lead us to the peaceful state of Brahman. Again, we are discussing a topic that we are talking about every session now in the past 3-4 sessions. So I just thought we'll discuss what Swami said and why he's saying this. So Bhagavan answers this with most important question for us today. What are the steps that will lead us to the peaceful state of Brahman? First is the stage of a student. Second is the stage when he works as an officer. The third stage is when he would have retired from all work. Here, we should recognize that a retired officer does not go to work in any institution. He stays home and involves himself in activities that interest him. Looking at him, if a young boy in the house says he will also not go to college because the older person is not going, it is not correct. This retired officer would have attended college, done everything needed to learn in a college, and thereafter attended his office and performed duties prescribed for him, and then retired without being a student first and then fulfilling your duty as an officer. You cannot become an officer deserving a pension and rest. So too, you must first learn the education relating to the Atma. Thereafter, involve yourself in work that is ordained, and then take rest and enjoy the bliss that is given by the knowledge of the Atma. Without working, it is not possible for us to understand the aspect of dharma. Without knowing the full meaning of dharma or right conduct, one cannot reach Brahman. And of course, Swami ends it with saying, only when one can develop an equal mindedness towards everything in life can one understand the aspect of Brahman. And again, this I think is what we are going roundabout talking about it. But I really think that we have to go through the process. What does this analogy of what Swami says, that spiritual growth cannot be rushed or quick. What does it teach us about this, about our goals, or about this path that we are trying to analyze?
Thanks to Baba and thanks to Bhavani ji for bringing out this particular chapter today. That exactly was I trying to open last week when I said we are in this field for so many years, we are still not reaching there. What are we missing? What are we missing? When I say we all are equally a part of it. That it's so we have not taken this route of a student and worker and then retiree. We have not done the antakaran shuddhi enough so that all this will just go in. As Umaji has mentioned, it's very easy to talk and spit out. That's what she said. All these things. Yes. So what is missing that we have learned this theoretically outside from YouTube, from this book, from that book. We have not gone through the process of learning it systematically. That exactly was I was trying to explain last week. So starting, go to a guru's sharan and do the seva. Do the seva for antakaran shuddhi seva. The what you call it as nishkam seva is the first thing. We have not done all that. We have just directly reading all these books. We directly reading the YouTube videos and started to talk about Brahman, Brahman, Brahman here, Brahman there. We have to do this proper path. It's not late yet. Since we have known, we have understood the path, we can start it even now. Starting from the very basic things, which will do the antakaran shuddhi. Without the antakaran shuddhi, all these things will not show the effect. It will be just a talk, which we all do. It will just remain as a talk. It will show its effect when the antakaran would be shuddh only. Thank you.
Saira. So actually, this quote is so beautiful because student, worker, retiree kind of links back to, Sravana, Manana, Nitidhyasana. So that's what exactly this is.
We start as a student and then move along. Yep. But that's a good comparison, Shankaranji. I did not even think about that. So what might this education look like in our daily lives? Antakaran Shuddhi that Manoj is referring to, that is what purification, purify our mind. That is what we are talking about. So again, we have discussed this many times. How does doing our duty with the right attitude help us prepare? So if we are saying right attitude, I think that's what we should focus on. it's it's not always easy to do our duties with the right attitude.
Yeah, so that
Sorry.
you have mentioned, Bhavani ji, in the second paragraph, f- the in our daily lives beyond books and rituals.
Yes.
That is the beauty of it. Beyond books and rituals. So where do we start from? There was a phrase we used to use that ध्यान, we do the ध्यान करना नहीं है, ध्यान देना है. ध्यान देना है means be attentive, be aware, be alert what we are doing, how we are doing, in all the respects. I mean, I fail all the time. I mean, I'm the most guilty, I feel. But we have to learn from our own mistakes only. Anything we do, anything we say, any action we do, any duty we perform, be careful, be watchful what we are doing, and controlling your senses, definitely controlling your senses. Don't be agitated, and ego, and all these are big poisons. We have to train ourselves slowly and slowly and get rid of this. The time is less, definitely the time is less, but it's the time to change our attitude. How does doing the duties with the right attitude, that itself is the right attitude. Whatever we are doing, watchful, be watchful. Is it something I'm doing for myself, or is it nishkam? Without being nishkam, it's not going to help much. It will help for temporary small things, but nishkam seva is required, and without even feeling that you are doing it, God is giving me the opportunity to serve. That is the attitude. That should be the attitude. Thank you.
Sainam,
Yes.
can you go back to the first page? Yeah. See, when Swami says first is the stage of a student and then officer, I don't know if he means within the lifespan of a human individual. These student, student, officer, and retired is over multiple lifetimes. It's not like it's the evolution of the Atma, like the game of the truth and guidance that we taught. It's from the beginning to the end, reaching the self-realization. So if you look at it from that standpoint, it's always, we are all always doing all three. It's not, we can never claim to be either a student or an officer or a retired. We will be a mixture of all three. We will be retired at some point, then we have to become a student to learn some other aspect. So because we are all in the middle of that board, we have not reached that end. When we are at the end, we can say that we have retired. That's an interpretation that I was thinking that would mean.
Tyron,
Yeah, please
can
go
you?
ahead. Yeah.
So I think most probably I agree with what Venkatji said, but there is small amendment we can make, right? So what Baba said, student, officer, because it's like not a fixed time frame. Like normally in the practical life, a student goes to college, maybe 14 years education, 16 years education, and then go to work. But in our case, we are not going in a traditional path like in the spiritual world, as we already in the middle age, above middle age. So we passed that stage where we cannot go back and study spiritual scriptures like all these spiritual institutions like Vedanta Society. We are just reading them as we come across in our life. So now we are in a phase that, oh, and now I want to study all these spiritual books, understand Atma, understand, bliss, Brahma Gyan, all these. Probably it's very difficult path to go back and start, leave whatever job we are doing, and then I want to study purely the Vedanta. Now it's too late for us, right? So the other way is whatever we come across, these spiritual teachings, scriptures,
Yes. Sairam?
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not sure where I missed that. So I'll start. So we are not in a place where we want to go back and study 15 years of Vedanta and then, become a officer, like in the monk officer, kind of a monk sannyasi, and then retire. It's not the path right now. So the other way is we have to work like an OPT, right? You're already in the middle of education. So along with the education, you can also work. So for example, we come across a teaching like today. They says, okay, if you are angry upon somebody because of something, try to control your anger. Be peaceful and try to control your anger and try to show your love or empathy towards that person who hurt you. So if we come across now, it's a teaching already done. Now what is left? We cannot just 15 years wait for to work on it, right? So it's like a OPT. Now you went to class, you studied, you come out, and in the evening you go to work on something. Similarly, we have to practice what you come across. There is no retirement phase at this moment because we can assume that we are all OPT students. Whatever you learn, then try to practice that, so that at some point you graduate from OPT.
Right. Very well put. Thank you. All right. We are at time. We will continue the discussion on Saturday. And we will also be having a meditation session as well. We'll begin the session with meditation. Let's end the session with Om and Three Shantis. Thank you all for being here today. Again, our life application is a breath-based reflection and focusing on the breath and the moment. So with that, let's end with Om and Three Shanti. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti. Thank you all for being here today. Sairam.
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 Saira.
Ram.